Russia confident it can win in Ukraine and risks NATO war. It is the scenario that Western defense planners have spent decades trying to prevent. A direct, head-on collision between the world's two largest nuclear powers, Russia and NATO. For years, we have been told that such a war would be unthinkable, an act of mutual suicide. But tonight, a bombshell report from the United States intelligence community has shattered that assumption. The warning is stark. As Russia grows more confident on the battlefield in Ukraine, the risk of it deliberately triggering a wider war with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is no longer a fantasy. It is a very real and growing possibility. The foundation of this terrifying new reality is laid out in the 2026 Annual Threat Assessment. The report makes a definitive and chilling assessment. Moscow almost certainly remains confident that it will prevail on the battlefield in Ukraine and force a settlement on its terms. Forget everything you've heard about a stalemate. The Kremlin sees a very different picture. According to U.S. intelligence, Russia believes it holds the upper hand. It sees no compelling reason to stop fighting as its forces continue to grind forward. This isn't just battlefield bravado. It's a strategic calculation that time and resources are on their side. The report details that despite staggering losses, Russia's military has proven resilient. Its ground forces have actually grown during the war, its air force remains a potent threat, and its navy is intact. They are not the bumbling force of 2022. They are a battle-hardened, adapted machine. And as one European intelligence chief from Estonia recently put it, Vladimir Putin, in his head, still thinks that he can actually militarily win. But here is where the assessment pivots from a report on a faraway war to a direct threat against the United States and its allies. The intelligence community warns that the longer this war grinds on, the greater the risk of escalation. And this isn't just about a miscalculation in the fog of war. It could be a deliberate choice by Moscow. Prolongation of the war increases the risk of escalation to a direct conflict between Russia and NATO, both through miscalculations and deliberate actions. We are already seeing the preview of this escalation. The report specifically cites Russia's campaign of sabotage against U.S. and European allies. We saw it in November of 2025 with a railway explosion in Poland, a NATO member, designed to disrupt support for Ukraine. Moscow is already using subversive methods against U.S. and European allies in an attempt to disrupt aid to Ukraine. These are not random acts of vandalism. They are the opening moves of a hybrid war designed to test NATO's resolve and create chaos. Polish Chief of the General Staff, General Wisław Kukula, said Russia's November sabotage attack against Polish rail, on top of months of drone incursions over NATO territories, shows the adversary has begun preparing for war. They are building a certain environment here that is intended to undermine public trust in the government. The fear inside the U.S. intelligence community is that these gray zone attacks could spiral, or that Russia, emboldened by its perceived success in Ukraine, might one day test Article 5 itself. By attacking a NATO member to prove the alliance's mutual defense guarantee is a dead letter, as some analysts put it. The goal? To shatter the alliance and redraw the security map of Europe by force. And then, there is the nuclear question. The threat assessment calls this the most dangerous aspect of the entire conflict. The most dangerous threat posed by Russia to the U.S. is an escalatory spiral in an ongoing conflict such as Ukraine or a new conflict that led to direct hostilities, including nuclear exchanges. This isn't just abstract theory. In January of this year, Russia launched its nuclear-capable Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile against Ukraine, striking near the Polish border. Analysts see this as a theater-wide warning to Europe. The January 8th to 9th launch of the nuclear-capable Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile against western Ukraine near the Polish border was widely interpreted as a theater-wide warning to Europe rather than a militarily necessary attack. The missile's speed and range mean it can hold every European capital at risk. It was a visible reminder that Russia retains credible non-strategic nuclear delivery options in the European theater. Add to this the expiration of the New START Treaty, which happened just last month in February 2026. For the first time in decades, there are no verifiable caps on the number of deployed U.S. and Russian strategic warheads. The looming New START expiration on February 5, 2026, erasing verifiable caps on deployed strategic warheads and delivery vehicles, plus inspections, fundamentally disrupted stability, encouraging unconstrained modernization and potential miscalculations. We are in a post-arms control environment, where Russia has normalized nuclear saber-rattling, deployed weapons to Belarus, and now fields a new generation of missiles designed to bypass our defenses. The guardrails are gone. This newfound Russian confidence isn't happening in a vacuum. It is fueled by two massive geopolitical shifts. First, Russia is not alone. U.S. intelligence confirms that China's economic support, buying Russian oil and exporting dual-use technology, is directly sustaining Moscow's war machine. China's imports of Russian oil and natural gas provide key sources of revenue for Moscow, helping it weather international sanctions. China's exports of dual-use goods and technology to Russia help sustain Moscow's defense production while reducing its incentives to reach a ceasefire in Ukraine, U.S. intelligence said. Beijing is the invisible hand propping up Putin's confidence. Second, and perhaps most critically, there is the state of the transatlantic alliance. Analysts at the Carnegie Endowment warned that a transatlantic divorce would create a window of opportunity for Putin. A transatlantic divorce before Europe has built up its conventional defenses and solved the problem of deterring nuclear threats from Russia without the U.S. nuclear umbrella over it would create a window of opportunity for Vladimir Putin to pursue his ambitions, while hiding behind Russia's nuclear shield. If the United States is seen as retreating from its security commitments, and Europe is left to fend for itself without the U.S. nuclear umbrella, the Kremlin may see a green light to pursue its ambitions, hiding behind its nuclear shield. This is the high-stakes gamble. Russia is betting that the West is weak, divided, and will ultimately blink. The U.S. intelligence community has laid the facts bare. Russia is confident. It is willing to take risks, and it is preparing for a potential conflict that goes far beyond the borders of Ukraine. The question now is not just whether Ukraine can survive, but whether the transatlantic alliance can hold together long enough to convince Vladimir Putin that a war with NATO would be a defeat he could never survive. The clock, it seems, is ticking. If you found this analysis valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to The World Strategy for more in-depth coverage of the global geopolitical landscape. We bring you the latest intelligence, strategic analysis, and breaking developments from the world's most critical hotspots. Click subscribe now so you never miss an update.